My name is Napheesa Collier, and I play in Unrivaled and the WNBA for the Minnesota Lynx.
I love it. Okay, so Unrivaled 3-on-3 basketball starts in January. It's inaugural season. Please talk to me about what 3-on-3 basketball is, just the basics. We normally know what we see in the WNBA. What is 3-on-3 basketball?
So for our 3-on-3 basketball, we actually have two baskets, just like normal 5-on-5. And we wanted to, it's going to be exactly like 5-on-5, the same rules as the WNBA, but we wanted to give more space to the players because the premise is we have the best players in the world here. And so, I've heard the WNBA a lot of times be compared to like the NBA of the 80s, just really bogged down in the paint, really physical. And so we took two people from each team off. So it's 3-on-3. And it just gives you more space to create, more space to see these amazing players' skills, a little bit faster pace. So I think it's going to be like highly entertaining for many reasons because it's going to be really fast and because you get to see all of these amazing players.
Now, when you say amazing players, it was almost as if when you had announced that this league was coming, Unrivaled. Can you tell me the inception? Like, where was this idea born, and how did it come to life?
I think just like being in the league for several years at that point, you kind of just see what is working really well and where the holes are. And I think one of them was, a lot of players are having to go overseas. And so you're seeing like a lot of injuries through that. You see people missing time at home for the holidays and with their families. And a huge one is we make most of our money. A lot of people don't know this off the court. Like we make the least amount of money almost on the court. And so brand building is the most important aspect of our job. You have to be able to build your brand in order to activate with, if you want to get like a deal with Nike or with, a drink or whatever it is. And when you go overseas, you kind of go dark for 6 months. You're not able to activate with brands. You're not able to grow your own brand. And so kind of through all of that, we came up with Unrivaled. And then another huge thing is the sport is just absolutely exploding. I think that was really apparent this year. We have been in the works for 2.5 years now. So we just kind of came in it was just perfect timing for us. But you can see it exploding. It feels like everyone except for the people who are putting the product out there are, capitalizing off of that. And so we wanted to create generational wealth for these athletes who are the ones like putting in this work. And so we're super proud that every athlete has equity in the league as well.
Okay, so this is a 3-on-3 league, two basketballs. This was an answer to women who didn't want to go overseas, right? It's a combination of things. We know that women go overseas to play to make money, but you all came up with this idea. And by you all, I mean you and Brianna Stewart are credited as the two that initiated it. Were you guys just sitting at home thinking, let's do this. This will be great. Let's make it 3-on-3. Let's do it can we play? Let's go play ball outside. I want to see the visual of what happened when you guys decided this is what we're about to do.
Yeah. Well, first of all, two baskets, not two basketballs. I just want to make sure.
Two baskets. Sorry. Yes, two baskets,
okay.
not two basketballs.
Then I'm going to have people be tweeting me like, there's two balls now.
You're like, is this a Harlem Globetrotters? Yes,
yeah.
go
on. So originally it started with like Alex and I talking at home about it. And then in the very, very beginning, we're like, okay, if we're going to do this, we need it to be the best players because in order to have a successful product, you have to have the best players. I just really believe that any league that started, you have to have the best people. And so like, okay, who's one of the best players in the world? Obviously, Stewie is one of the best players in the world. And so we went to her really early, when it was just in its inception. We're like, we have this idea. Do you want to be a part of it with us? And so, she said yes. And then it started to grow from there where we started to really flush things out. And so, yeah, that's kind of like the beginning of it.
That's amazing. That really, truly is amazing. And here it is. You have just about every single superstar. There's so many superstars in the WNBA, first of all. Let me just not single out just the many that are playing for Unrivaled. But you say every single player has equity. How much money or how much equity do they have? What is the percentage? Does it vary depending on the player and their contract?
It does. It varies on the player, but I think it's a 15% pool of equity for the players. Don't quote me on that. It was 10 and we raised it. So I think we raised it to like between 12 and 15. It does vary on the player. It varies on if you sign for multiple years. Some people are on a 1 year. Some people are on a 2 or a 3. So that's kind of how that was based.
All right. So then if the concept is to raise generational wealth, can you think of another league that's doing what you all are doing, giving the player the actual equity?
I don't know
in the
any
league?
leagues. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know of any league that has equity with players that are currently playing. I think we're
Yeah.
the only ones.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to do the research on that, but I am very confused because I'm thinking you all might
Maybe
be the first.
golf, live golf, maybe. I don't
Oh
know.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe, but you're in rare air, and this
Mm.
blueprint now has put you in a position where not only are you a quote unquote employee at the WNBA, but now you're a boss with Unrivaled. How does that transition feel? What have you learned as a player, being a player now that you're a boss? And then I'll ask the question in reverse, obviously.
Yeah. I think I mean, it's a whole different world, and you don't get it if you're a player. Like the logistics behind everything. I mean, creating a whole entire league, like just everything that goes into it. You don't know what you don't know until you get there. We're really fortunate to have like the best of the best. We're really intentional about going out and getting those people so that we are great in our lanes. You know, we're going to stay in our lanes. We need to get people who are good in their lanes. We're not trying to be the best at everything. We're trying to get people who are the best in their respective fields so that we can make a whole, united best product. And so I think we did a really great job of doing that. But I think what I learned is, just the business side. As players, you're always asking for more money, and that is our number one goal, is to give players more money. But I think just learning the logistics behind it was a lot different.
When you say the goal as players is to get more money, and that's all we ever hear, pay these women more money, we want more money. The salary disparity is huge. Now that you are on the receiving end of people saying want more money, do you understand why certain women are, excuse me, why the women of the WNBA aren't paid as much? Or is that still outrageous to you?
Um, I think we have a really good business plan. We were able to create our own business model, which allows us to pay players this much money. There's a lot of reasons why the W can't. I think we still can get more money in the WNBA, but they are handcuffed by a lot of things. Like, the NBA owns a large, I think, majority of the WNBA. And just, it's been running for a long time in a time where women's sports wasn't as popular. We came in at a time where we could capitalize off of that, and we can pay the players accordingly to what, our market value is. So I think our business plan is just really good. And I mean,
And
I
I
don't have real insight into W's business plan, but I feel really confident in ours.
Well, also you saw what they did, and you were able to do things differently,
Yeah.
improve on where the lack is, and that's not a disrespectful thing. That's why there's always a first, so that you can improve on the second and the third and the fourth. I'm curious as to what the average salary is for each player in Unrivaled.
I think there's an article that came out that said it was around like 200 to 250 is the average.
For every that's and then what is the average in the WNBA?
Oh, I mean, the max salary is like 250, isn't it? So,
So the average player in Unrivaled is getting 250. The max in the WNBA is around 250.
yeah, I
Listen to
think
that.
so.
That's are you floored by what you all were able to do? This is really history breaking.
We are really proud of what we've been able to
Making
do.
history.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think just really proud. Like, this is what we wanted. We want to lift the game. And, I really think that, high tide lifts all boats. We are here to supplement the WNBA. By building these players up, it builds the WNBA, and vice versa. When they're built in the W, it will build us. Same with overseas. We're seeing people get a lot higher contracts overseas and in other leagues, other off-season leagues, the contracts are growing. So I think just the entire market, that's what we're trying to do, is lift all areas of our sport. And so I think just that we're super proud to be able to have, accomplished that without even playing it.
That is a true team approach. That is true. We are a team response. You are all. We all got it. We in this together, and I appreciate that. That's a great mentality. How many games are in a season, in your inaugural season?
We have each player plays 14, so I can't remember like how many it is total, but there's 3 game nights a week and 2 games on each one, so six a week for whatever. How many weeks are we? I know how many months. It's like 2.5 months. I don't know. 14 per
Okay,
player.
14 per player. All right, I'm
Yeah.
writing it. Oh, here we go. So it says average unrivaled salary 222, WNBA 214, and it's 8 weeks. Okay, we got it right here. Thank you. All right, 8 weeks. Put it in. We got the researcher on the line. Okay, so in 2 months, in 2 months, because that's 8 weeks, in 2 months, my math is amazing, you all are going to be able to give these players their max salary that they would make if they had been a tenured player in the WNBA, according to this new business plan. So, what you're proving is that the money is there and available if you create the actual conduit, the vehicle to do so. Moving forward, what would you like Unrivaled to be? In your greatest, wildest dreams, what does Unrivaled become?
Um, I honestly feel like the sky's the limit. You know, I think when you have the best players behind you, you can do anything. You know, I hope we do expanding, selling off to different cities for different teams. We're traveling, we're going on the road for different tour stops in the next couple years. So I think we have like a lot of exciting things. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to talk about. Sometimes I get censored after I do.
Okay. Okay.
But we definitely are like building for the future. And I think we have a lot of exciting things that we're going to be releasing soon. So.
Okay. Do you mind telling us a little bit about what we are witnessing? I watched you on 60 Minutes when they were talking about the rise of the WNBA. And you talked about a world that you have lived in real time when you first got to the league and what it is like now. Tell me the difference from when you graduated from UConn and you were a rookie in this league, and then how it feels now in terms of travel, respect, notoriety, etc.
It's way different. And it's crazy to say that because, I mean, I came in 6 years ago. It's not like it's been decades. Like, change usually happens so slowly. When I came in, I mean, of course, the W is on the rise. Every year it's on the rise. But I think just with the explosion of social media in the college game, I really think, honestly, the catalyst was when, they put those videos out of the weight room at the Final Four. And everybody was outraged about how different it was from the men's to the women's. For me, that is when it feels like it exploded. Like, where everybody started paying attention, not just like diehard fans of women's sports. And then you had the bubble that happened, which added to that, where we were on the only sports on TV. So you had no choice but to watch us. Something we've been saying for years is if you just put us on TV, people will watch. And so we were finally put on TV and we gained a following there. And then you have, again, the explosion of these people in college where they're bringing their fan bases, and it just compiles on. And to see that happening so quickly, it's just been so fun. And to be able to like have any part of that at all, to be able to play in that time, it was just like, it's just been incredible to watch. And I think it's just it's just a really cool experience to see something growing that you feel really passionate about, like coming to life, and everything that people who have been in women's sports have been saying. Finally, we can be like, see, we told you so. We were right. And like
Yeah.
that feeling is always great.
Yeah, it definitely isn't an "I told you so" feeling. I was talking to one of the players, and I think when they were playing the Liberty, she was saying the difference between the hotel they would have had 2 years ago versus the hotel they have now when they come to New York is
Yeah.
night and day.
Or even
And
the theater we were playing in, and now we're there at Barclays. Like,
yeah, like you literally the beginning of what they had for the Liberty, and
yeah,
here you are packed out in Barclays, arguably better games than the Nets, not even arguably, if I'm being honest with you.
yeah.
And you're seeing an entire new fan base. Now, I think that this has exactly what it takes to last. I don't think some people, critics will say, I don't know how long this can last, but I feel as if the maturation process, the 25 plus years, is right around when the now NBA started to find its legs and you could see who these players were. It's not necessarily par for par, but it is very similar that it does need this transition period. You need that one or two, or you need that thing. And you're absolutely right about that video, because I think everyone was like, is this what's happening? How unfair, how blatantly unfair. And I always said this about women. When you play basketball, you play it because you love it. You don't do it for the money. You definitely don't do it for the fame. And to see a time now where you guys are getting it for those reasons, plus just the pure love, do you still think you'd still play this game until you couldn't play anymore if you didn't have this type of access in terms of new resources and new money?
Absolutely. I mean, sports is just a part of me. It's just like in my DNA. And I still don't play for those things. Like, yes, obviously, it's really nice that you don't have to play overseas or do other things in order to be able to do this thing that you love. But like how fortunate are we that we do get to play something that we love? And when I'm done playing, there are very few games that I'll actually remember, but I'm always going to remember the bonds that I've made with these people that I've played with. I mean, several girls that I went to college with were bridesmaids in my wedding. You
Oh,
know, people on my links team were bridesmaids in my wedding. Just the relationships that you form with people, the experiences that you get, the different countries I've been able to go to, the different people from all different cultures and backgrounds, and everything that I've gotten through this sport. I didn't do that for money or fame. I did it for the experience and because I love playing basketball. So I would still play even if it wasn't growing the way it is now.
do you ever fear that it will change? And by fear, I mean not in a bad way, but like the motives for why some of the women play the sport will change. Do you feel like that's on the horizon?
No, I honestly fear more for college than I do for professional sports because like professional sports, I think that's the nature of the game. Like you are playing for money, but in college I feel like NIL is taking that away. Like I think college is just one of the times where you're supposed to, find who you are and experience life and create that bond with people that you're playing for 4 years. I think turning that into a professional sport by having people like sign 1 year contracts with NIL, I think I'm a little bit sad about that for them. NIL is such a great thing. I just think they need to hone it in. But I'm not really worried about the professional game as much.
It's interesting you bring that up because we've been saying that it's definitely the wild, wild west. We're starting to see players sue certain schools for not giving them the money, or certain, entities that are not giving them the money they promised, or just refusing to play. It's becoming
Yeah.
it's a different world. This is why you see
Okay.
different coaches leaving. You come from royalty when it comes to college basketball, more specifically, women's college basketball at UConn. Do you feel it's interesting to me because I don't hear so much about NIL and the money at UConn like I do at other programs? Is it because of the respect that people have for Gino Ariema and that program, or is that not something you believe he adheres to? Because he's still very much an old school coach.
Yeah. I think it's both. I mean, they're in a position where they've built up the name of UConn for 40 years. We were just at their 40-year, anniversary. And so people, you don't go there for the money. You go there because it's UConn, and you go there to play for those coaches. So I think that hasn't maintained its integrity a little bit. And I'm sure there's other programs like that too. But when it's a new program and you got new coaches and they haven't built that, like you have to bring other things in, which now is money and whatever else it is. So yeah, I think coaches, and he's like you said, he's old school. We weren't
Yeah.
allowed to paint our fingernails or have colored hair or anything like that when I was there. Like they do things a certain way and it's worked for them for a really long time. And they recruit a certain player also. They're not going to try to get a player that's asking them for all this money because that's not the way that they do it there.
Yeah, they want you to do it for the love. NIL is going to be really interesting. I do believe, though, to your point earlier about the fan bases that are following these players. We saw what happened with Caitlin Clark. We saw what happened with Angel Reese. Their fan bases followed them to the league. And I think that most recently, and you were asked about this in that 60 Minutes special. Most recently, Caitlin Clark had acknowledged what she calls her white privilege, and how she wanted to make sure that she acknowledged all of the players who built this league before she came. And there was a lot of pushback. Caitlin Clark, do you feel is one of the main reasons why people are paying attention to women's basketball now?
Yeah, and I don't think that should be something that's debated. She did bring in a really big fan base. I think the argument comes in when people are saying like she is the WNBA or she built the WNBA. Well, that's not true. We've had it for a really long time. You've had amazing Hall of Fame players that have built this every step of the way. We've never had an explosion like this. We've never had the exposure like this. Just the access to the players, it's never more than it is now. And so you weren't able to see these amazing players that are long retired, who have built it before then. And even stars in the league now who were here before this rookie class came in have built this league. And so 100% they did bring a lot of fans, but also we had a growing fan base. But I mean, I think no question they accelerated it. And I think that they do, like, I don't think that's something that should be debated. Like, I think it's pretty obvious that they did accelerated it, but the product was already there. I think we already had amazing players, and that's what you need to do to grow a business. You need to add more amazing players, which is what we did.
It's the yes and of it all. Yes, and this league was already great. And the reason why she was inspired to play in the league is because she saw other women play in the league who also happened to be black, or black women who were killing it. And she was like, I want to be able to do this. This is the issue that I think people have, is that the WNBA was such an exclusive club for so long. It felt like a very exclusive group of people with an exclusive club, and you're not invited to the party. And if you want to come, great, we'll welcome you in. And then all of a sudden, all these people got in line and the club got real crowded. And then everybody was like, wait a second, you in the club now? So I think there's an adjustment period that the league is experiencing right now with its fan base. How would you describe this growing or adjustment period with this new fan base and the existing WNBA fans?
I think there are definitely growing pains, just like with anything, but I think it's good and bad. Like, there's no room for hate in our league, no room for, like homophobia or racism or any of those things. But the ignorance, you can't be too mad at people. They're new. Like, they're new people. And to have something grow, this is what we've been asking for. We want more people to watch us. Well, they're not going to know everything when they first come in. They're going to come in for one player, sure, but then they fall in love with other players, or they fall in love with other teams, and they're learning more. When you're new to something, you're not going to know everything about it right away. And that might be frustrating for the people who are already here, who knew we had something great. But we do have something great, and we want it to grow. We don't want to keep it to ourselves. And so I think that's kind of been like the adjustment period. Again, it's a lot different when you get into like the toxicity of some of the things that were happening this year. But as far as like the casual fan coming in, and I think it's great for the game, the discourse around it, when people are arguing, you're still talking about it, whether you love this player, hate this player, you're still talking about it, whoever you're cheering for, whatever it is. So I actually think that the casual fan, you need that in a growing business.
There is nothing, and forgive me, and I hope you understand when I say this. Rivalry, competition, all the things sports are made of, needed. So you should be able to have that. When we did a series on Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, and it was just about the rivalry and why it's so amazing. My hope is that women are allowed to compete as athletes, period. No gender assigned, but just as athletes. I've noticed so much sensitivity around the idea, especially coming from new fans, of how women should compete. What do you think that expectation is? What do you think they're coming to see when women play basketball?
The new fans who think that that are too sensitive. Oh, because it was so physical.
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just like a social bias that women aren't physical and we should be like dainty and stuff, but it's hard for me too because I've been in sports my whole life. So I've never seen that, like I've only ever been aggressive, and I've only ever been around aggressive people. So it's kind of hard for me to like see the side they're coming from, but I hope they know now, like, we're a bunch of, like, we're going to fight to the death to win. We are competitors. It doesn't matter our gender. Like, we want to win just like anybody who's competitive. We're out there for a common goal with our teammates, and we're going to do whatever we can to achieve it.
I think it's bizarre because they're like, wait, they're so physical. Look how they're playing. And I'm like, wait, do you say that when you watch the NBA?
No, I think you know what it is. The NBA is not that physical. We are more physical than the NBA. So if you are only used to watching that, I think our game is more physical, especially in the first half of this WNBA season. There was like a technical every game. We were throwing punches every game.
Wait, so listen, do you think women are more physical than men? Really? Is it because it is, is there any assignment to that? Why is that? Why is the women's game more physical than the men's game, in your opinion?
I think the refereeing, they were like letting us And again, when you put like a bunch of competitive people around, emotions are so high when you're playing. You're physically and mentally exhausted, and people are pushing you the whole time. You're going to get testy. And if you're allowed to be like that, it's going to escalate. So it's the referee's job to keep that under the control. And that's why I was saying we've been compared to the NBA of the 80s a lot, especially have you seen the Michael Jordan documentary, The
Mm-hmm.
Last Dance, where
Yeah,
they're
of
just like
course.
tackling him
No.
midair. We're not doing that, but the referees allowed that, and so that's what happened. And then they cleaned up the game, and now it's like ticky tack fouls all the time in the NBA. But we're still allowed to be more physical, and so that's what we are.
And I do believe that makes the game more exciting because people will tell you the NBA, obviously with the bad boy Pistons that you refer to when they were beating up Michael Jordan, the NBA of yesteryear is considered. Let anybody tell you those are the good times. Charles Barkley, how many fights have we seen him in? And I mean, literally physical fights, like two-piece in a biscuit fights. And I just used to be like, that's not happening. You're absolutely right. That's not happening in the NBA. Are you? I always reference when they talk about Caitlin Clark being physically pushed around. I reference. Do you remember the Candace Parker her rookie year? Do you
Yeah,
remember that? Yeah, you remember.
with
They
PP,
what was
she was
it?
my coach.
Oh, she was.
Planette Pearson. She was my assistant coach when I first came to the leagues.
Oh, I didn't know that. Like
Yeah,
there was no love lost. Like,
yeah.
and it was very clear. And in my mind, I think people appreciate that and want to see that. So if you're telling me that the WNBA is more physical, which I'm just blown away by right now, because now that you think about it, it makes it so clear why people are so sensitive. Do you think that the referees will change in this coming season because of all the new fans and all the attention that you all received this past season? Do you think the officiating will change?
You're asking the wrong person. I hope the entire officiating crew changes. You're asking the wrong girl, Carrie. I hope yes. If I had a vote.
Tell me why. I'm asking the right
I
person. I'm
mean,
glad. That's honest. That's fair.
I think everyone across the board, no matter which team you played for in the WNBA, no matter who you were a fan of, like the refereeing was abysmal this year. Like it's really bad. It's just really inconsistent. And whether you let us play physically or not physically, I just want it to be consistent throughout the whole game. Throughout the whole year would be awesome, but if I could just get throughout the whole game, I'll take it. And so I think everybody had a complaint about that. And with, again, a growing business and we are getting more money, more funding, we're becoming more and more of a top league is what we want. We have to have consistent, reliable refereeing. And so I hope that is something that changes.
I think I'm asking the right person only because when you played in the finals this year, and it was the Liberty taking on the Lynx, and I said this to you in person and off camera, you were 2024 WNBA Defensive Player of the Year. You received MVP honors after you guys won the Commissioner's Cup. I will tell you, this was your season. This was your year. You'll have more. But for those who had just came as new fans and people who maybe have forgotten, you have cemented your place as one of the greats. And when you all played in that finals game, many people afterwards criticized the officiating. Your coach did not hold back. And she was like, I'm taking this L. I do not care. This was unfair. And you all were sitting there like, yes, go. And yeah, tell her. And I want to know because I'm not a professional athlete, how does one walk away from a loss like that without feeling, how long does it take to get over that? Or do you ever get over that?
I think it's definitely something that will stay with me forever. But I think just like not letting it impact you for the next year, as in a bad way. I think I should use it as motivation where, okay, let's not put ourselves in that situation again where the game is that close where it is decided by the referees. Like next year, let's win by 20, where there's nothing that can happen with the referees. So I think it just gives you motivation in that way to come back even better. And so that you're not relying on people outside of your team to decide the game.
That's, by the way, right at tattoo. Do you see why she's good at what she does? Do you see why she's the all around team player? Like she's like, let's do this, team. Last but not least, and I'm gonna let you go as you get ready to finish up your holiday shopping and whatnot and your last minute deals. Do you feel like the WNBA, more specifically, what you are creating, will be a place that will ultimately reach the level of attention, the lucrativeness. I don't want to make sure I get the right words. Where men and women who play the same sport will have equal salaries. Do you ever think there will be a time? I remember Candace Parker tweeting this. She was like, I hope a time comes where I can say I'm turning down $34 million a year. It won't be for me, but maybe for my daughter. Hopefully when my daughter is playing. Like, she was just like, I hope the time comes. Do you ever believe that's in the future for the
I
WNBA?
I do. I mean, because I think the demand is there, you know? And I think that the way that we play is different than men's sports. I also don't really like the comparison so much because I think we play a different basketball game than the NBA. I think ours is a lot more technical. I think ours is a lot more, I think just pure to the game of basketball. Theirs is really fun to watch. They're super athletic. They're dunking all over the place, but I think ours is more of a pure, like, just more pure of the sport. And so I think you can be a fan of both. And I think always trying to put us against each other, like you love the NBA or you love the WNBA, I think is the wrong approach because it's two different forms of basketball. You can still have 5-on-5 and 3-on-3. It's two different forms of basketball. And so I do think we'll get there just because I think when we start figuring that out, figuring out what we need to do to market to the right crowds and to get people in to give us the access that people are wanting from us, you know, on TV and all those things. I think we will get there. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime either playing, but I think one day we will.
I hope it skyrockets. I wish you nothing but the best. I think you're a great representative for the league and for women's sports in general. You have the right response, and your honesty is not necessarily fueled by emotion but logic, and that's kind of hard to do these days. Everyone wants to separate instead of bring us together. So I love the yes and of Fee Collier. Thank you so much for joining us on Naked. I know it is early, or where are you at? You're in Minnesota. Yes, not too early. It's early
Yeah.
here in California as I just fell out of bed. Okay. Thank you so much.